You know, I have to say, I love gardens of all sizes. Even gardens that you can put in a jar this size. You know, when I was a kid, I always loved making terrariums. I'd put them in a mason jar, a fish bowl, even an aquarium. And I'd plant all sorts of plants in there. Some of them would work and some of them wouldn't. I'd put sticks and moss and rocks and even little plastic dinosaurs and things like that. I think terrariums can add a bit of nature in the house in a very beautiful and stylish way. So what I thought I would do today is talk just a little bit about the history of the terrarium and then some ideas on how you can create one for your own garden home. What's interesting about the terrarium is they really came about in the 19th century. One of the earliest examples is one called the Wardian case. This guy by the name of Ward in England developed a glass box, and it was actually used in the beginning to transport tropical plants from all the various extensions of England's colonies back to Victorian England. And then from there, the terrarium became all the craze. Now, what I'm doing today is starting with some rather large jars. I find that those are a lot easier to work with. The larger the mouth of the jar, the easier it is to get your hands in. Now, you can make terrariums with smaller mouth jars, but you'll need some little tools. Sticks, chopsticks work very well, tweezers, whatever you need to get down there to plant the plants and get everything in place. Now, I like to use lots of different shapes. You can see how I've displayed these on the end of the work table here. They're all roughly about the same size, but I have them elevated using these shiny cake plates. It's nice because it reflects the light and the color of the plants and so forth. These can be great looking in a kitchen or even a bathroom. Now, when you create a terrarium, the main thing to keep in mind is just have some fun. It should be a creative expression. All you need are a few basic elements. We've already established you need a container, of course, and then at the bottom of it, you're going to put a gravel base, and those can be in any sort of shape and form. Just look at some of these big black ones, white ones, and these mixed ones here. And then after that, you're going to add a layer of good potting soil. Okay? Now, why don't we get started? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this gravel as the gravel for the base. Makes a lot of racket, doesn't it? So all I'm doing is I'm putting about a ½ inch gravel in here, and now I'm going to apply a layer of this potting soil like this. Just use a good high quality potting soil that has some nutrient in it, because typically you don't fertilize these terrariums until about a year. And one tip to keep in mind to keep the soil off the edge of the glass is just take a spray bottle like this, and you can rinse the inside of the jar. And after I plant my plants, I'll come back and give it another rinse to make sure again that there's no soil on the edge. Okay, now here's where you can really get creative. It's about choosing the plants, and there's a wide range of house plants you can use. What I like to go for are those that have a tropical quality. You don't want to use plants that love arid conditions like many of the sedums and cacti and so forth. It's a different kind of terrarium. These are going to be covered with glass, and you're going to be creating constant humidity within this jar. So stay away from those. I try to select plants that have small leaves and aren't particularly vigorous growers. Plants like some of the needlepoint ivies, the little tiny button fern, or strawberry begonia. I like peperomias as well as the phytonias. Funny name, but it's also called a nerve plant, called that because of the veining that you see. The white ones are striking, and there's a beautiful pink one that you can see that I've used in a number of these terrariums. And I've also coordinated the colors here. You can see I've used the same plant palette in all 5 of these terrariums because I like showcasing them all together so they hang together with their own color theme. Now, other ways that you can apply your own personal style to these is to think about the ground cover within the terrarium. I like to use mosses or even another kind of gravel to create a pattern. And then you can apply sticks or interesting stones and even lichens and other kinds of mosses. Now, a couple of tips you need to keep in mind. Placing this in the house is very important. You never want to put a terrarium in full hot sun because the temperature can really heat up in a hurry inside this jar. So keep it away from direct light. When it comes to water, what I do is make sure that the soil is moist and there might be just a little bit of water down here in the gravel. Put the lid on it and watch it for several days. If you get a lot of humidity and it begins to bead up, you may want to pull the jar lid over just to the side and let some of that water evaporate out. You just kind of have to monitor it for about a week to 10 days, and then you can keep the lid on it for months and months without any care at all. And what a beautiful way to bring a bit of the garden into your home.